Greetings and welcome to Think About It Tuesday. And I am your host today, David King. And I'm excited to have you here with me on Think About It Tuesday. And Think About It Tuesday is where we going to talk about some things that took place, that are taking place um, today. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm trying to get it all together and setting it all up. So um, I'm excited. I brings greetings from Kingdom Resurrection Power Ministries, New Look on Life, um, Kingdom Business Solution, and Wisconsin God Squad, along with Tuckaway LLC and Black in America. So I'm going to talk to you today on Think About It Tuesday um, about something that's going on right now today, something that is very, very important. What is going on right now and what is happening is that we have a very important election going on today, a very important election that is going on today. And a lot of people doesn't even know about it. Um, it is a very important election today, and that election is called control of our education system. That is going on right now. The control of our education system. And so, as we begin to look at today, and the reason this Think About Tuesday is about this election. And the reason that this election is more important than the president election is because these are the people that is making the decisions far as education when it comes to our children. And a lot of times we're not paying it no attention. We're just allowing um, things to happen, and we are being blindsided by what's taking place and what's going on. So, it is important that we begin to look at it for what it really is. And so, when we look at what's going on and what's going on today, all right, let's talk about today. Media is not really pushing this election. Media is not really saying too much about this election because the more they keep you ignorant to this election, the more control they have over your kids' education. All right. And so when we look at the education system, some of you are for school choice, some of you are against school choice. Parents that are benefiting from school choice. And what do I mean by benefiting? When you have a choice to say where my kids are going to be educated, what school is best fit for my child. Well, if you're not paying attention to this election, then you're going to get someone that doesn't feel you have the right to choose what education your children get and that they can send them to wherever they want to send them. Um, when you look at our education system, we got to make sure that our kids are getting the best education so that they will be able to compete with anybody in the world. And right now, our kids are not there. And yet we allow these people to sit in these seats of education because we are ignorant to these elections. We are ignorant to that there's an election today to address our education system. And, and the funny part about it is we only push something of where someone has told us what to push. And so when we're pushing an agenda, it's not our agenda, it's someone else's agenda, and it's important to that person and not to us. But our children education is supposed to be important to us as parents, as grandparents. And you have people that's against school choice and charter school and try to say that MPS doesn't have any money. And so they go and they begin to attack school choice. They go and they begin to speak against your choice. And here's the thing. If you live in a town and all they have is a McDonald's, all right? There's one town and all they have is a McDonald's. That's the only restaurant in the town. So if you wanted to go out to eat, you went to this McDonald's. Now, this McDonald's could treat you any kind of way. The food can be cold. The restaurant can be nasty. The service sucks. The bathroom not clean. But they know if you're going to eat out, instead of driving far out, you're going to come to them. And so all of a sudden, a Burger King moved into town. Now McDonald's is complaining because their sales is down. But at this Burger King, you're getting good service. The food is hot. The bathrooms is clean. So if McDonald's wanted you back, then McDonald's has to step up their game to get you back. Now, when you look at school choice, charter school, and MPS, they all have some problems, but they all have some good schools. So if people want our children, all of our children, to come back to MPS, then they have to step up the game and make MPS a place where you will be proud to send your children. So, one of the things that I love, because my son is in a choice school, he's in a Lutheran school. And one thing I love about it is, and he's in school, he's not virtual, he's actually in the building. And one thing that I love about that school is that you have a parent-teacher conference every day. When you pick up your child, you can talk to the teacher, you can get a report from the teacher on what your child is doing, if his grades are dropping, if he's the class clown, whatever, you can get that report and you can do something about it. Now, someone told me that the money that Choice and Charter are taking from MPS, because the money followed the kid, but not the exact amount. All right. So let's just roughly say MPS is getting $15,000 a child. I just want to do a number with you. So let's just say $15,000 a child. All right. So you got 15,000. In most classes, you see 20, 25 kids. So I'm going to just say 25 kids. So 15,000 and 25 kids in one class is $375,000. Now, if you take the teacher's salary out of that, and if you take the benefits from that teacher, the insurance and the benefits of that teacher, you still have over $200,000 in that one classroom. Where's that money going? Why that classroom don't have books? Why Does that classroom have everything it needs, and even has enough money to have help for the teacher in that classroom to help teach those children? So where the money going? It's going on Valit. That's where the money's going. It's not going to our schools. It's not going to our children. It is going on Valit Street. And so when you look at everything, instead of just listening and do your homework, do your research on everything, then you can ask these questions. So now we have the school board. We have a race for the school board, all right, for MPS. And no one is really talking about books and the quality of education for our kids, to that our kids can read, that we're going to make sure that those that graduate can read, can do math, can fill out job applications, that we're going to put back guiding counselors in there to help them, guide them in a career, or if they really want suitable to go to college, because everybody's not suitable to go to college, but unless they're suitable to go to college, or being led to go to a trade. So in other words, to help shape our children into a better outlook on life. And so we're not talking about the quality of education of our children. We're not talking about how to better help our teachers. We're not talking about making a strong three-chord covenant in education. And what do I mean by a three-chord covenant? The teacher is committed to the education of our children. The parents are committed to the education of our children. And then our children commit to being educated, because a lot of times teachers cannot even get parents to parents teacher conference day. And so, there's a lot that has to be fixed. There's a lot of miscommunication between parents, teachers, parents, students, and then teachers, students. And so I remember when I was coming up, and when I was coming up and my report card was bad, I couldn't go home and tell my mother, the reason I got a D is because the teacher don't like me. The reason I got a U is because the teacher is always picking on me. I couldn't say nothing like that. If I said something like that, I probably wouldn't be here today. I remember a parent telling their child, when the child tried to use, the teacher don't like me. And when the child said the teacher don't like me, I heard a parent says, the teacher's job is not to like you. Her job is to teach you. So when we look at everything, when we look at what's going on, the teacher has a job, and their job is to educate our kids. And we said, even on our jobs, I'm not here to make a friend. I'm here to be paid. I'm here to do a job. And we need to help our teachers do that job. We need to make sure that we're on board, that we communicate, that we test our kids when they're at home, and making sure they can read, making sure they can do math, making sure they can count money, making sure that they're able to do what needs to be done. And so when we look at everything, and we begin to address everything, because we have to address the real issue. We have to address the real deal. And if, and only if, we allow the condition of our schools to stay the same, then the only thing we're preparing our children for is death and jail. That's the only thing we're preparing them for, because we're not making sure that their education is legit, that there's no accountability. Now, one of the saddest things I saw was I watched parents complain about our education system. I watched parents be furious about how the way they was teaching their kids. And then yet at the same time took the man that was over education and made him governor. And you know why? Because most of those parents did not know that DPI, when Tony Evers, Governor Evers, was DPI, he was in charge of our education system. And nobody really knew. Nobody really knows right now that there is a DPI race going on right now. And today is voting day. And so you have to look at the candidates, even those that's running for Milwaukee Public School to run for school board. You have to look them up. You have to figure out who's really for your child, because they're not for your child. Look at the condition of MPS right now. Look at the condition. Look at what's going on. Your child education is not priority number one. So you got to ask yourself a question. How long am I going to allow them to step on my child? I'm going to make sure my child can read. Yes, I'm going to make sure my child behave, because that's a lot of it too. We have to step up, parents, and make sure our kids can read, and make sure they can do math, and make sure that they're doing their homework, and that they're not on YouTube, and that they're not playing Fortnite, or they're not on their video games, and making sure that they can read, that they can write, and that they can do math. One of the ways I would test my son is everywhere we drive, I would make him read signs to me, so I know he knew how to read. I made sure he did his homework. I made sure that I spent time at the school talking to the teachers. I got involved in his education. All my daughters, I was involved in their education system. I went to schools and field trips and parents teacher conference, and one of my daughters, she was part of this program called Best Friends, and it was supposed to be mothers and daughters, and I was the only father there for the best friend. But I got involved, and so we as parents have to get involved, and not just in the classroom, but even in the election, and making sure we're voting for people that are going to make sure our children's education change, and stop pointing the finger at choice schools and charter schools, and bring the standard back to MPS, and bring the standard back on our education for our children, to make sure our children know how to read. Let me tell y'all, some of our children come into my office to fill out an application for a job, and some of them don't even know how to fill out a job application. Some of them don't even know what DOB stands for, or SSN stands for. And so, and the thing about it is that we allowed it. And we allowed those people to be in charge of our education system. We didn't realize how important it was because we was ignorant to it. Some people still don't even know you vote in school boards members. We have to hold every school board member accountable. How can you be a school board member in a district and you don't know the reading scores of the average reading scores of your schools? And if you do, and you're not speaking out against it, then shame on you. It is time that we stand up and rise up and be involved in our kids' education. It is time we stand up and hold every elected official. These school boards are elected officials. You vote them in. Now you should make sure that they're doing things according to what you need done, that they're making sure that the education system is at a standard where you okay, where you can be proud to send your child to that school knowing they're getting a great education. You know, those of you that your kids is at choice and charter, then you need to know who's running for the Department of Public Instruction, DPI. You need to know who's running. You need to know if they're for your child going to a choice and charter school or if they're against your child going to a choice or a charter school. You need to know what they stand for. You need to know what each and every one of them stand for. So this is the primary today. This is the primary. And you got people that is out here and they're banging off of your ignorance. They're excited of your ignorance. And they're excited about the snow because it's going to be a low turnout so that they can do whatever they want to do. So I'm encouraging you guys to get angry, to get so angry that you are willing to do something. Now I'm gonna say something, and y'all know me. Every time I say stuff, I make people mad. Every time I say some things, people get upset with me, and I'm used to people getting upset with me, and I really don't care because that's just how I am. Where's the advertisement, the publicity? Where is the commercials? Where's the press conference for our kids' education that we had for president? We had so many people hollering souls to the polls for the president. Where's that at for our children education? Where's that same push for the children education? How come we don't have that? How come we don't have that right now? How come we're not standing up and saying our children education must change, that our children can compete with any child in the world? How come when it comes to our local race, we do not get the same push as we do in the national race? Here's the deal. They don't need you in the local race. And the reason they don't need you because they know if we keep you ignorant, we're going to win those races anyway. If we keep you ignorant, we already know that those races you're going to be ignorant, and you're not going to that's right, Pam. They did not push it. That's why you didn't know nothing. And that is why we have to educate our community with everything that's going on. And our children education is so important. And so we have to, let me say this, Sam, I'm getting notification that you are making comments, but Sam, I need you to go to Apostle David King ministry page so you can make your comments, Sam. I would love to put your comments up, but wherever you're making comments, it's not coming on there. So go over to Apostle David King ministry page, Sam, so I can put those comments up as well. You know, our children is important. Their lives is at stake, because if they can't read, let me, this is Black History Month. All right. If you did the study on Black history, there were slaves that escaped. But because they couldn't read and write, some of them came back to slavery because they didn't know how to survive out there. Frederick Douglass waited an extra year to escape because he wanted his reading and writing to be great. And then he escaped. If you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to write, how are you going to survive in a society where you must communicate? How are you going to survive? How are children going to survive into a society where you have to communicate? You got to be able to read. You got to be able to fill out an application. You got to be able to do some things differently. And our children's future is at stake. Now, this is Think About It Tuesday. So I wanted to put something up to make you guys really, really think about everything, because there's an election today. And we have not got any kind of push. We haven't got anything from anybody to have the same push. Sam says teacher unions want low voter turnout. Okay. Yes. You know, and the thing about it is, most people that get endorsed by the union is going to do exactly what the union want. You know, we need some mothers that's fed up, that would get up and run. Some fathers to get up and run. That the education system itself can change for the better of our kids. And, you know, when you look at, by this being a primary, whoever comes out, you get to do the homework on them. And ask them questions about money and how much money go with a child into a classroom. And then when you do that, then then multiply that by how many kids in that classroom and say, where's the money? If this is how much coming out that one classroom, then where's the money? How come we don't see the money? How come it's not there? Where's the money going? And why is it that our children can't even get books? They get paper that's copied. They don't get books. So why is that? Why did they take science and home economics out of our schools? Why did they take music out of our schools? I remember we used to dissect frogs and baby pigs and all of that stuff. And we had home economic and we had shop classes and we had, so why we don't have that now for our kids? Why is it that our kids doesn't have an opportunity to learn how to cook healthy meals, but yet they can sneak Well, yeah, it's sneaking. They can sneak your child, your daughter, a some birth controls, and they don't have to tell you. They can sneak and talk to her about an abortion, and they don't have to tell you. They can talk to them about their sexuality, but they don't have to tell you anything. But they're not teaching your children the things they need to survive. I remember we used to have accountings in school where we learn how to do a checkbook, learn how to balance and budget some stuff, and um, bookkeeping and accounting. We had all of those classes in school, and now our kids don't have none of that. They should put in teaching our kids about credit scores now, so that way when they get older and when they get to college and stuff, they are alert and they understand some things. But they're not allowing our kids to know that. They don't want our kids to know that. But the same people, and you know what? Let me say this too, because y'all know I love getting in trouble, so I don't care. I'm tired of folks saying vote for me because I'm black. I'm tired of that. We done voted for so many black people, and our kids still don't have a good education. We done voted for so many people because they say they black, and we still at the bottom of the barrel. We done voted for so many people, they said, vote for me, I'm black, and I got your back. And when they still stabbing us in the back by not doing what we need done in our community. We need to vote for people that got real, authentic character that's going to do what they say. And how we know that? Because they already doing what they say. Not when they get in office, and everybody always pushing color, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there is not no good blacks. There's a lot of us out there that are good and got our kids' best best interests at heart. There's a lot of us out there. But at the same time, we need people that is going to look at our children. I did a test with my son. My son now is in 7th grade, but I did a test with him when he was in 1st grade. And I put him up with a 3rd grader of MPS at the time. And again, all MPS school is not bad. We got some awesome MPS schools. All of them is not bad. But when I put him up, he was able to go toe to toe with a 3rd grader because of the education that he was getting. So, and I want to make sure that my son and my grandchildren have the best education, the best, and they have the right to have the best education. They have the right to have the best so they can compete with anybody in the world. They have that right. Your child and your grandchildren have that right. So we have to stop voting for these wicked, unproductive, good for nothing people to go in these offices, because when you vote for them, guess what you get? You get lazy, you get wicked, and you get unproductive service. That's what you get. They're not going to produce anything for our children. They hid this election from you guys. They didn't talk about this election at all. They didn't push it. Channel 6, I just looked on Channel 6, and Channel 6 had a small clip on 7 people that is running for the office of DPI. But I couldn't find anything what they're saying about the local candidates that's running for the Milwaukee Public School Board. Nothing. The only thing they're saying is that Wisconsin, wait a minute, I want to say the right thing because I don't want to misquote anything or anybody. This is what's on their page. Milwaukee leaders excited for President Biden first official trip outside of DC. Milwaukee leaders. And as I stroll down, I'm still trying to find something that talks about Milwaukee Public School Board election. I can't find nothing. And then they says primary to narrow, 7 candidates, candidate field for state school chief. So the person that's going to be over DPI. They're not pushing anything about this election. That's why this is called Think About It Tuesday. So we can think about some stuff that is going on right before our eyes locally. Locally. I don't hear anything until after the primary. Then after the primary, it's too late. Because the ones that shouldn't go make it through the primary, it's probably going to make it through the primary unless you guys decide to get out. Well, do some homework first and then get out and see who's running. Look at what they stand for. And if you are a parent or a grandparent and your children go to a choice and charter school and they're getting a good education and they're speaking against choice and charter, then you know they're not for your kids. I will support choice, charter, MPS, and I expect all standards should be the same, that everyone gets a great education. So it's not about me picking a side. My side is the children. That's the side I'm on, that our kids will get a better education, where our kids will be able to be seen, learning, and competing with anybody in the world. If you go after this show and you Google the test scores of the schools that your kids go to, or your neighborhood school, the school that's closest to your house, and you look at the test scores and you look at the math scores of their math scores and their reading scores and their writing scores, if you look at the scores and they're not to your standard, you ought to be upset. And then I'm hoping you're going to get engaged and get involved to make sure our children getting the best education possible. So when we look at everything that is going on from where we was when we was in school until today, then you know something is wrong and we need to fix it. We have to get angry and fix it. Test your kids yourself. See where they at in reading. Look at their grade. If they read, their reading is not up to standard and they been giving A, but their reading is not an A, you ought to speak out against it. If their math is not an A-level math and they got an A on their report card, you ought to be upset. And you need to say, okay, why are you giving my child a passing grade when he need help in reading? We as parents got to get involved. We as parents have to get engaged. We as parents have to make sure that we have our children best interests at heart. We as parents must do that, because if we don't, who will? If we don't stop allowing them to sneak elections through us, how things going to change? How things going to change if we don't get involved, if we don't know what's going on, if we don't think about everything that is happening right now. Forget about Washington, D.C. We need to focus local, and we need to address things locally. And we need to make sure that the things we address locally, that we are getting a true change, not just a change of face, but a true change, a change where we got people that is going to support our children and not hurt our children. We have a lot to do in a short period of time. Do your homework. Do your homework. And the thing about it is, I can't tell you who to vote for. I would tell you to do your homework real quick. I can't tell you who to vote for. I didn't set this up to tell you who to vote for. I set this up to get you to thinking. That's why this is called Think About It Tuesday. But you have to be careful on who you're voting for, and you need to listen carefully to what they say. You need to listen very, very careful. And you'll find out something that you'll be like, oh no, can't do it. I know who I'm voting for, but I'm not going to say on this air, because I don't want to influence anybody to do anything. But what I do want is everybody to do your homework, and everybody to stand up for what's right, and make sure our children education is safe, and that our children would be able to have that fair chance at a great education. They come to me for jobs, and then they put down they graduated, but they can't really read the application. That's how it is. I see it on a daily. I see it on a daily. And we have to come together. The community, parents, we have to come together with teachers. Because here's the thing about it. Teachers spend more time disciplining than they do teaching. So as parents, we have to teach our kids that you're there for one reason only, and that is to learn. And the thing about it is this: a lot of parents want to be parents. But you know what? Some of those people you voted in office tied your hands, because there's no difference between discipline and abuse. So you can't even discipline your child, because they done tied your hand that there's no difference between discipline and abuse. So if you correct your child, you got to be worrying about if they're going to call the police on you, because you're disciplining them and not abusing them. And that's something that they need to redefine, the difference between abuse and discipline, so parents can go back to being parents. Because parents need to be able to be parents. Parents need to be able to discipline their children. And I tell you, when we was coming up, our parents would say, only reason I'm whooping you is because I love you. And I didn't understand it in the beginning because that was some painful love. And most of us, we had that, we experienced that painful love. But for me, that painful love kept me out of Wall Pond. That painful love kept me out of doing some things that I knew if I do that, the consequences with my father would not be nice. I knew going, if I would have got caught by the police when I was a minor, I ain't talking about when we old, I'm talking about when we was minors. If I would have got caught by the police and that police officer had to call my father to pick me up from the police station, I would have asked the police, do you have any cold case? I will confess to any cold case, because do not let me go home with this man, because I knew what my father would do if he had to pick me up from the police station. I knew what the man would have did. So I would have asked for a cold case just so I couldn't go home and get that love that he says how much he loved me. You know, so when we think about that kind of love, that discipline that we had when we was coming up, and then all of a sudden we allowed these people to tie our hands, that we can't show the same kind of love. And I'm not talking about abusing a child and things like that. I'm talking about disciplining them where they will have respect. But when that law came out, the school taught our children, they indoctrinated our children that we can't do nothing to them. If somebody hit you, your parents hit you, call 911. Why would the school teach our kids to call 911 on their parents? But yet they can give your child birth control and don't tell you. See, we allowed the system to get messed up, and we need to take responsibility of our system being messed up and then go back and fix it. That's what we need to do. We need to fix everything. And so with this election that's going on, you guys need to do your homework. Your kids' future is at stake by who controls the education system. And a wise man once said this: if you continue to send your kids to Caesar to be taught, don't be surprised when they come home as a Roman. When you continue to allow Caesar to teach your children, don't be surprised if they come home as a Roman. If you are not involved in the education system, if you're not paying attention to the indoctrination that they're doing to our children, if you're not paying attention, if you think that all it is reading, doing reading, writing, and math and arithmetic, if you think that's all they're doing, then I have a 7-bedroom condominium on the moon I want to sell you. They put our kids in politics with a lie and told them who to vote for and why, based off of politics, off their agenda. Let me just put it that way, off their agenda. That is why it's so important. So important that you guys get involved with the education system. And now there's an election that is going on today. And then the outcome is, we'll see tonight who came out of the election. So this is Apostle David King with Think About It Tuesday. Until next time, peace.